Now, one of the big things to come out of motorsport in the last few years is the ability to actually train properly on a simulator, so that you can maybe minimise the amount of time you're spending on track. And certainly with some of the championships that are out there now, you don't want to be wearing the car out. There is time and a place for testing the car, but if you want to stay sharp, you want to hone your skills, you want to learn the track limits, then a proper race simulator is the way to go. Now, Simon Mason here of Motorsport Tuition Simulators is going to talk us through exactly what you can get out of one of these machines. Now, Simon, this is incredible. We've got Mr. Mansell here, Scott, doing what, the Silverstone International at the moment?
This is Silverstone International Circuit that he's on a nice sunny day, nice and dry.
Yeah.
But of course we can change the conditions in the software as well to make it a bit slippier or overcast, depending on the sort of conditions you might expect to encounter in test day.
So as we said, you know, are you finding more and more drivers are now coming to you for this kind of solution, or for teams are to kind of keep their drivers sharp in between races?
Absolutely, yeah. It's become an essential tool. It's so expensive to go testing these days. No matter how you cut corners or anything, it becomes expensive. And a simulator gives you access to practice, to mental training before you go for the test day. It's way more than learning a circuit.
Okay, because we know that, you know, with the way things have gone with F1, that the simulators are absolutely incredible usage they use them, because they've got nothing else. They have no track time. So if you take that as the pinnacle, how far down do you think we're coming in motorsport in the UK down to a simulator? What kind of level are using it, and who could really benefit from it?
Absolutely anyone in motorsport can benefit from it. Driving.
Yes.
You know, the problem as with all these things is cost and time and all the rest of it. You know, even just using a PlayStation and a wheel will start to do some training, as long as you're competing, you're giving yourself a target on times. The problem you get is, as we all know if you've played those games, I know I certainly did when I was learning about simulators, is they get frustrating because they don't have the accuracy, they don't have the feedback, so after a while you just get a bit frustrated. A proper, well set up simulator is just like being in a real car. It's highly logical. Every input should give you something back that fits with what you would have expected in the real world. You know, you can see with Scott driving around behind me on virtual reality, he's using a headset to see where he's going. He's not actually using the TV screen.
It's quite incredible, isn't it? Because you'll see him like come down the straight now, and all of a sudden he's looking around in the cockpit. Oh, there we go. and he's looking at the tyre temperature.
Right on cue.
He's monitoring all the car. But it's a game, but he's monitoring it, and it's teaching you those things that you should be doing in your own car.
That's it. The physics of driving is the same. You know, it doesn't matter. The only thing that changes is the dynamic limits of the car that you're driving, and you know, whether it's front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, slicks, normal road tyres, or whatever. So a good driver still has to apply themselves to adjusting to whatever the conditions and that car is requiring in that moment. You don't want to be trying to work it out over a long period of time. You need to be in a mindset that's already tuned in.
And obviously, I mean, what we're seeing here is I believe, a Ferrari he's driving here.
Yeah, he's in a particularly nice car that we all dream about in the moment. He's in a 488 GT3.
Okay,
in that one.
But obviously in the real thing it's got paddle shifters, so it's quite easy for a simulator to suddenly have an H-pattern 4-speed box and stuff like this.
It is, although typically on a simulator, to get a decent setup on the gears side of things, it starts to get expensive.
Okay.
The paddles are easier to use, and like I say, it's the brain training that it's good for. So it can help you. You know, you do get people who specifically request a sequential shifting car. The manual shift cars work well, but on a simulator, but it's not as realistic as I would like it to be. You can get them, but they're very expensive.
So your feeling is that if somebody thought, well, I drive a manual car, how's this going to help? But it's that training.
It's the training of the brain. Attitude.
When you change gear, not how you do it, but when you do it.
Exactly.
It's the important things.
Apexes and looking ahead and being firm with the car, being in charge of it, knowing what corners are coming up. We all know the circuits that typically we know the circuits we're going to, but it's how we're going to deal with ourselves in that environment in our car, which has got various different dynamics. And if your mind's switched on, it's easier to work it all out quicker. And that's the advantage of a simulator.
Well, I think what we'll do now is get Scott off this, and we'll have a word and see what
You'll have to have a go and see what you think of it.
Thank you very much. I will.
Yeah, so we're here at the MSD Live event at Silverstone in the wing. On the Driver 61 stand we've got Motorsport Tuition simulators, and I've spent a bit of time here in the simulator today, and we've been coaching other drivers who've been at the event today. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, the level of the simulators nowadays means that real world drivers can actually come along and use these sims to learn techniques, to learn circuits, and it's very, very close to the learning process that you would go through on the real racetrack. So I've got one of these simulators, and I use it for my own racing, but as you know, through Driver 61 we do a lot of coaching, and we use the simulators as well for coaching drivers. I don't think it will replace it, it will help on circuit driving, but obviously in a simulator you don't get that on the edge danger, for want of a better phrase, than you do on the real world race circuit. But in terms of training, then you obviously get much better value for money in a simulator. The esports world is growing very quickly, and especially in motorsports, it makes motorsport a lot more accessible than the real world racing alternatives. So yeah, I think it's got a big future.